Online, you will find plenty of videos on the top 10 best business models to start for beginners, but I'll be completely honest with you, most of these videos are shit. Not only because the person making these videos has no actual experience with any of the business models they're sharing with you, but also because most business models are simply not suited for beginners. And it's not even in their best interest for you to succeed and to make money, because if you do, you won't keep watching their new videos on the top 10 best websites that can earn you $100 per day, but nobody actually makes money off of those. In this video, I'm going to share with you the specific criteria we need to look for when starting a business as a beginner. And this is extremely important for you to understand, because if you pick the wrong business model, you are doomed to fail. And if you don't believe me, go ahead, try to start your business and then come back a year later and tell me how much progress you've made. Chances are you will be in the same position. Then we'll go over the worst business models for beginners and why you need to avoid those if you want to avoid losing all your savings. After that, I will reveal why 99% of people fail in business, as well as the deadly mistakes you need to avoid making if you actually want to succeed. And finally, I will reveal the best business model for beginners. It's important to watch every part of the video in sequential order, because you need to understand why things need to be done a certain way if you want to succeed as a beginner. Now, since it's probably the first time you and I meet, why should you listen to me? My name is Fred, and I'm an entrepreneur from a lower middle class background. I went from having only $400 to my name over 5 years ago to making upwards of $1,000 a day at 21, selling services and consulting online. First, we need to answer the question, what makes a great business model for beginners? The thing you need to realize is that most businesses are not beginner friendly. And by beginner friendly, I mean that pretty much anybody could get started with no previous experience or skills and little money to invest. So to give you an example, if you were to start a brick and mortar business, well, obviously if you were to open up a gym or a restaurant, a hair salon, things like that, you would need to come up with a few $100,000 at the bare minimum to open up that business. So for beginners, it's not realistic, and profit margins are typically very small compared to what you could have with the right online business. And that's why nowadays, in the digital age, starting an online business is a much better way to succeed and to make $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 per month and even more. The sky is not even the limit, there are no limits. And while you will find plenty of online business models, all the way from dropshipping to affiliate marketing, selling info products, the truth is, not every business model is equal, and most importantly, not every business model is made for beginners. First, I want you to understand the distinction between a cash flow business and a valuation business. The goal of a cash flow business is to be as profitable as possible so that you can actually just enjoy life, either reinvest in your business or spend money for yourself. That's the goal of a cash flow business. Now, typically with that kind of business, you can make $10,000 per month all the way up to $300,000 per month, but you're not going to make millions of dollars per month. Whereas with a valuation business, the goal is to increase the valuation of the business as much as possible to sell it later down the line and make a big exit. So to give you an example, Shopify and Facebook are valuation businesses because they're worth a lot of money. Except that, let's be honest, if you wanted to start a valuation business, you couldn't do that alone. You would need investors, you'd need a lot of money. And on top of that, you would need a huge level of skill. Not just anybody could create the next Facebook. There's a lot that goes into it. But with a cash flow business, a business that's profitable, that makes you money, you don't have nearly as many responsibilities and downsides as with a valuation business. And it can allow you to be free. I personally have a cash flow business, and that business is a consulting business. If you take a look at the first videos I made on my channel back in September of 2022, I was essentially providing done for you and done with you services for entrepreneurs. I was helping them to book more meetings, that way they could scale their company. And after doing that successfully, I transitioned into consulting, so teaching others how they could book more meetings themselves instead of having to do it for them. And nowadays what I do is that I help ambitious individuals to start profitable online businesses so they can finally have the financial freedom that they want. So what should you look for in a beginner-friendly business model? Ideally, a beginner-friendly business model fits all of the following criteria. First, it doesn't require much money to get started or to sustain, meaning how much money you would need to start the business, but also how much money you would need to spend per month to keep the business alive. The second element is high ticket prices. If you were to charge between $500 up to $5,000 per customer, depending on what you sell and who you sell it to, you would only need a few customers, a handful of customers, to be able to quit your job and go full-time. So if we do the math, if you had an offer for $2,000, you would only need 5 customers per month to make $10,000 per month. And finally, the third element is high profit margins. In business, what matters is what you keep, not what you make. Revenue makes you look good. Lots of dropshippers, they love to flex how much money they've made with their Shopify store. But if you look deeper, they're actually super broke. They barely make any money because profit margins are razor thin. And speaking about business models to avoid, dropshipping is probably one of the worst business models for beginners, especially if you're going to do dropshipping with paid advertising. If you're a beginner, I don't suggest you go ahead and try to sell physical products. Why? Because if you were to do something like dropshipping, not only would profit margins be extremely small, typically between 9 to 20% on the high end, but on top of that, you can't really sell something for an expensive price. At best, you would be reselling the same crappy overpriced AliExpress products for $50. So if you wanted to make $10,000 per month, you would need to sell 250 items per month at $50. This means every month, you would need to convince 250 complete strangers to pay you, and believe me, that's not easy to do. But let's say you did manage it. How much would you keep out of the $10,000 you made? Remember, profit margins with e-commerce and especially dropshipping are typically 9 to 20%, which means in order to be actually profitable and make a decent income, you need to have a high volume of sales. But let's say you made $10,000 in the last 30 days with your dropshipping business. Guess how much you would keep? If we do the math, you would only keep between $900 up to $2,000 in profit, and that's before taxes. If you pay a 25% corporate tax, you will be left with $675 up to 1.5k. And initially, remember, you made $10,000. Now, if you want to use that money to go and have fun, to travel, you can't exactly do that because that money belongs to your business. Instead, you will need to pay yourself with dividends or a salary and pay taxes yet again. So at the end of the month, you are literally more broke than somebody working full-time at a fast food joint. Yet, initially, remember, you made $10,000, and that's how all of these dropshipping gurus fool you. Not to mention that even if you were profitable with a dropshipping business, because you base your Shopify store around a trend, what people call a winning product, even though you make money on the short term, as soon as the trend dies, you won't make any more money. And so you'll need to find yet another winning product, which can take you weeks to find, and then recreate an entire Shopify store based around another trend and a hope that maybe you'll get sales. So every time you erase all of your momentum, you never build a loyal customer base that will recommend your products to their friends and family. And guess what all biggest e-com companies have in common? They make their customers loyal. They have their customers come back and buy again from them. It's much easier to get an existing customer to buy again as opposed to getting a complete stranger to trust you and to buy from you. Now, it's important to understand why 99% of people fail in business, because if you can understand the mistakes that prevent most people from becoming successful, then you can simply do the opposite and guarantee success. It's like the very wise investor Charlie Munger said, if I knew where I was going to die, I wouldn't go there. The thing that prevents most beginners from making money online and building a profitable online business is that first, they're not working on the right business model. So no matter how much they work, no matter how consistent they are, because they work on the wrong thing, they don't get the outcome they expect. And on top of that, they most likely try to do everything themselves, and so because they're not following a proven step-by-step process, they have no clue what to do. And when they get stuck, which happens often, they have no one to show them the way, to tell them, look, you're stuck because you're doing this wrong. Instead, do this. I was stuck for a while in my business, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't break past my revenue plateau, why I couldn't sign more customers. And it's only because I got help from specific mentors that I was able to have my first $1,000 a day in sales at 21, and nowadays I'm able to make upwards of $1,000 a day at 22. But by myself, I made many mistakes, and sometimes the difference between barely making any money to making a lot of money is one small thing, except that alone by yourself, you might not even realize what this thing is. But when you've got a mentor, someone to look at your situation with an objective point of view, they can clearly see exactly what you're doing wrong and guide you in the right direction. When you hear successful people, like let's say Steve Jobs, giving a speech to an audience, and when they tell you they could have never achieved that level of success without the support of their team, it's not just a bunch of polite platitudes, it's the truth. Give me the name of a billionaire that works alone. There's none. They all surround themselves with high achievers, with hardworking, talented people, because alone you only go so far. It's like you can teach yourself how to drive, I'm sure somehow, even though you've never driven before, but it's going to take you a while to figure it out. You might even cause accidents because you don't even know what you're doing. So in the end, trying to figure it all out on your own, it takes you more time, and it even ends up being more expensive than if you worked with a mentor, somebody who can show you the way because he's been there. Which is why, to help you, I've recorded a free video in which I share with you everything I've done step by step to be able to scale my business to upwards of $1,000 a day at 21, selling services and consulting. The link will be in the description below. Or if you're committed to starting your business so you can become financially free and get the life and the freedom that you deserve, you can directly book a free call with me or my team, and we'll see if we can help you. So what's the best business model for beginners? That's the age-old question. Ideally, the best business model for beginners shouldn't require that much money to get started or to keep running every month, so you wouldn't have to pay like $500 per month on softwares just to sustain the business. And on top of that, it's got high profit margins and you can charge high ticket prices, meaning you only need a handful of customers to quit your job and be financially free. And after 10 years trying to figure out what's the best possible business model, because I was trying to make more money so I could be financially free and get my family out of the hell that's the the lower middle class, I came to the following realization. The business model that fits all of these criteria we just spoke about is to sell services and consulting online. I didn't see any success until I transitioned into selling services and consulting online. And it's with this business model I've seen the most amount of people go from being total beginners, having no business knowledge whatsoever, to getting their first customers, making $10,000 per month, and even making multiple 6 to 7 figures per year. So with this business model, consulting, it's not expensive to start because you really have barely any expenses, honestly. And on top of that, you get to solve painful problems for people, which is extremely gratifying. You can help your customers in 3 different ways. The first is to deliver services that you know how to deliver yourself. Let's say you're good with video editing or with Photoshop, you could offer that as a service and get paid for it. Or let's say in the past you overcame a drinking addiction, you could help people to overcome their drinking addiction. A lot of people would be willing to pay you a lot of money for that. Or the third way to do that is that even if you've got no previous experience or no skills and you have nothing to teach to anyone at the moment, you could still sell any service even without knowing how to deliver that service yourself. And the way you would do that is by leveraging remote contractors. Now with this business model, profit margins are high, between 80% to 98%. And because you charge high ticket prices, typically between $500 up to $5,000 per customer, you only need a handful of clients to be able to quit your job. So look, you need to make a choice. You can keep watching YouTube videos on how to make money online, but doing that won't make you any money. Or if you're committed to starting your business and becoming financially free, you can check out the free resources in the description below or directly book a free call with me or my team and we'll see if we can help you. That being said, if you enjoyed this video, share it with a friend, and together let's blow up this YouTube channel to empower ambitious individuals across the globe to become financially free.